There's a huge variety, and something many people have a misconception about is that they're all kind of weird porn games. But those are actually their own separate category, usually called H games in Japan. The truth is, some do include sexual content, some don't. Depending on your preferences, if you want to play one, you should look up the games in detail to the best of your ability to not spoil things before you play. Many also do include the option to turn that sort of content off. Um, Dating sims originated from the kawaii soft power nation of Japan, and therefore these games anime influence. Soft power, if any of you don't know, that's Japan's biggest export. That's like kawaii, the cute neon cat. No, that's not really it. Despite the fact that there's an ever increasing demand for games aimed at women, the majority of dating sims developed are aimed at a male audience. This is mostly due to the fact that men still predominantly have a hold over the gaming industry. Pin that on your corkboard. I'll come back to this later. In character, making most of these games first person, you can usually change the character's name. Sometimes the game gives you options to customize based on gender, appearance, and whatnot. Most games right now will just give you a character, though, and that's who you play as. Yeah, okay. Although many dating sims present a goal, like to find a love interest, some also give you other goals, and those could be like find out what happened to your father, become a successful makeup artist, figure out what you want to do for the future. As the complexity of narratives in dating sims has grown a lot. I'll talk about that a little later too. Some now even have options to just be really good friends with the possible love interests, which I really appreciate that. One thing I'll mention is that in the West, the term dating sim has become conflated with the term visual novel, which isn't really correct. A majority of dating sims are presented in a visual novel style format, and they borrowed a lot from the visual novel genre. However, a visual novel isn't always a dating sim. Popular visual novels would be the Ace Attorney series, the Zero Escape series. You should play that, please, God, please. Or the One They Cry series, Higurashi. You've probably seen the anime. Um, yeah, okay, so I don't know if you want to read through this whole list, but there is a really long range of dating sims. There's pretty much like one for everything. Whether you want it, oh, good, sorry. Whether you want it there or not. Um, and I definitely do not want some of them. There's a lot of discourse. Some of that I will briefly touch on later. Not going to get into that right now. First found out what a dating sim was, but yeah, it's kind of ubiquitous now. There's so many now, and they're only making more, both in Japan and in the West. So whether you find one now or later, there's probably one that you'd really like, or just go play Zero Escape, please. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Or you can just watch My Life as a Villainess, because it's not only the best isekai, but the best harem anime, period. Very good. 11 out of 10.
I love that show. Sorry, just had to like hop in there.
No, it's
That was
very good.
great. It was
Yes.
life changing.
Very good. Please watch. Highly recommended by two of these people. What goes into a dating sim? These games tend to have a lot of talking. A lot of talking. That's really like all they do. Depending on how far the game leans into the visual novel genre, there may also be a lot of descriptive writing about all the events going on. An important aspect is usually your stats. Sometimes these are visible to the player, other times not. Love meters, I'm gonna call them love meters, would be a measure of how much certain character might have personal stats, so like your intelligence, your fitness, your kindness, whatever. These won't always be the same depending on the game. Some games give you a certain amount of energy to do certain activities. Money, as always, and everything can be a huge factor in many of these games, where you have to budget your funds for activities or gifts. Um, Yeah, so going from there, you have sorry. Okay, so the way you plan and manage your time set within the game to complete a goal, you either have like a few weeks, months, a year, I don't know, whatever the game gives you. I think there's one game that has like 3 years of time. During blocks of free time, the player has to juggle, depending on the age of the character, like class, part time jobs, full time jobs, spending time with other people, doing activities to increase your stats. Maybe like, I think there's one where part of the free time activities that you have to take part of are actually like personal hygiene. So, like, depending on whether you brush your teeth or not will affect whether certain people like you, as in real life. In some games, certain events may trigger that even give you a bonus in one area at the expense of another. Stage pass. I'll talk about that later. But in this game, for example, the player is you're often given a chance to take on like makeup jobs or film industry jobs, but these would happen at the same time as you're in class. So, do you go to class and be a nerd, or do you skip class, get some sweet cash, and yeah, then you don't study? But yeah, so choices become very important too. A lot of dating sims and visual novels, for that matter, will have dialogue or event trees. Depending new paths or events may open up to you, or they might be completely closed off. Interacting solely with certain characters might open up more of their character route, but other potential love interests or characters would then be closed off. Or you may never even meet them within the game during that playthrough. Using Backstage Pass as an example again, if you decide to take on certain jobs of the ones offered to you, you're able to interact with this awful hat dude guy. I don't like him, that's why I never. But you would interact with him more than if you had not triggered those events. So if you don't take on any of the jobs, I'm pretty sure I remember his route is almost closed to you entirely, which I don't mind because he's kind of mean. And like the first time he meets you, he's like, "Wow, I guess you're just using men to get ahead, right?" And just want to do makeup for some people and move on. Um, because of this, though, dating sims and visual novels again borrow a lot of things from them. They encourage a lot of playthroughs, so eventually the intention is for you to date every boy, even though some of them are awful and you never want to see them in your super complicated, but you have a chance in a lot of these games to give gifts to other characters to make them like you more. Um, usually you also have money that usually you also have to use money that you have in the game to buy these gifts, which goes back to you like spending time managing your time to go to your job to make money to spend that money, um, to not spend all of it on ice cream. Going back to the very beginning, though, there are one of two types of direction more, but I don't really know. Um, First, there's the common route where you get the chance to interact with every character whenever you want. So with this kind of structure, there's like a central path that then branches out depending on the choices you make and how much you talk to a certain character and all that. Yeah, so games that do this would be Backstage Pass because I'm never gonna stop talking about this game, or Hot to Full Boyfriend. Basically, to just give an analogy, they put all the boys and girls in the same room, and you talk deciding which ones you're not going to talk to anymore because they call you mean names. Uh, Going from there, I'm not sure if there's an official name for this kind of thing, but there's also the separate character route option, and essentially, pretty much at the beginning, the game will give you a choice of which character to pursue. This could be subtle, or it may just like explicitly show you portraits and be like, okay, which waifu or husbando are you gonna date? Um, in Amnesia, but this is the only example I really have for it right now because I don't like this approach as much, so I tend not to play them. But right at the beginning, your companion character, who almost took off your head, asks which world you think you remember you're from, and this is like Clover, Heart, Diamond, whatever. It's kind of subtle, but this actually determines what the choice of husbando with whom you're going to pursue a relationship. Um, an analogy for that, I guess, would be you put all the guys and girls in separate rooms, and then you choose from the beginning which room you're going to go into. Example to follow along with. This first image is from Problem Sleuth. Uh, God, I'm such a homestuck. Yes, but so this is not Homestuck, please. Okay. You consult your swag registry and select from it a beautiful fancy Santa, an excellent choice. She gains a few husband material pips on her brooch of the chaperone's dereliction. It is time to select a courtship action. So although this is meant as a joke, since Problem Sleuth here is parodying dating sim mechanics, this shows pretty well the gift mechanic. So you acquire items over the course of the game that you can gift to others, usually during birthdays or other events. If you give them something they really like, their affection for you will increase. The other picture is not at all from a dating sim. Um, Zero Escape. I don't know if I've talked about that at all. I probably haven't. It's very good. But I feel like it described the branching paths for dialogues or events trees that a dating sim can take. This is from the second game from the Zero Escape series. One branch at the beginning that goes into three, that goes into infinite. Um, so I know that was a lot, and I talked really fast to get through the boring parts. Does anyone have any questions or comments so far? Slow down, Ariel. You're going too fast. No, no, I cannot see the chat. So if someone can, please tell me, because I haven't. Let me go on my phone real quick. Sorry.
I kind of did, but I don't know if this is appropriate at the moment because it's kind of like a weird. I don't know. I've heard it. It's like I don't know if I would call it slightly controversial because it's one of those things where it's like I know like that genre can be like very much broadly kind of intermingled with other like gaming franchises. For example, like Fire Emblem.
Ah, yes, thank you. You're actually, what's the word? Getting ahead of me. But yes,
Oh,
I will talk about that.
I'm gonna just mute myself then.
Fine. Actually, that, I think I forgot to add that in. No, 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 that's in the history part. Okay. Yeah, LOL. Okay, so, there are certain types of dating sims, but as I'm gonna go into later, a lot of those aspects from dating sims are gonna start getting used in other types of games. So thank you. That actually uh leads to my next part. Maybe so. Oh,
Real
sorry.
quick, I had like an example for like the separate route things. A lot of like mobile otome games do that, and also like the Fate Stay Night games in particular, like the famous,
Yeah.
most people have heard of those. They tell you straight up you should do like nowadays if you get a localization you have to download the routes separately. You can't play them.
Yeah. Actually,
They're,
thank you because
yeah,
I
they're not even
forgot
friggin'.
to add that in at the end. Um, a lot of phone otome games actually do that. Mostly due to like restrictions on data and stuff like that. It makes it a lot easier to write out scenarios because you don't have to account for like all types of different things. But yeah, so just before you start playing, I would just check whether it's the separate character kind of route or the the everyone round robin route. Um and Fate Stay, I was actually asking my friend about this last night. It is kind of interesting because depending on the love interest, you play different games. I only watched one episode of Unlimited Budget Works because I was upset because I thought he was gonna date Saber, because that's all the fandom talks about. So apparently I
Yeah, they
learned.
don't have a good adaptation of that route, unfortunately.
Yes, I found out last night that he doesn't date Saber there, so I'm gonna finish it probably tomorrow, and I'll play the
The
game.
new Heaven's Feel movies, the third one is not out because it was supposed to come out and then COVID happened. But
Ah,
the Heaven's Feel movies are the third route. They're really good. So if you
okay.
watch Unlimited Blade Works, I recommend those movies next. Just
Okay, I will add that to my list. That is 20 miles long, but I'll put it towards the top. Um, yeah. So some terms, tropes, characteristics, um, that kind of important if you're going into stuff. Um, so a lot of the one term that a lot of fans of the genre will use is capturable. Whether that means capture their heart, capture their feet, I don't know, whatever you're into. But that's basically the term they use for the romantic interests. Um, so going from there, you have Otome game. We were just talking about that. That's a game often like a dating sim that's mostly aimed at women. However, it's not always a dating sim, but it's kind of become synonymous with dating sim for women. So then you have VN, and a lot of people will say that rather than just typing out visual novel, because we're all on the internet and we don't have time to do that. And that's a novel, but it's visual, and you click on things and it goes. You have BL, which stands love, or the homosexual romances between men. There is a genre of dating sim visual novel that is BL. One very big one comes to mind, but I'll talk about that later. There's the Baishoujo game, or the pretty girl game. This is aimed at the male audience. However, there is a subgenre aimed at the female audience, and this is called the gal game, or the gal gay, because it's supposed to be like gal game. You have insert root, um, which this kind of comes from the visual novel genre, but people in the dating sim genre also use it, and this kind of refers to the ending that your play style is leading to. So because I don't talk about it enough, I'm pretty sure still haven't talked about it, but the Zero Escape series, certain actions will lead you to certain routes. So there's the submarine route, there's whatever, and usually sometimes people will use these terms for route endings so that they don't spoil new players to it. The game itself might give it those endings. Um, on that note, multiple endings are a big characteristic of these games, and sometimes people call it like character plus good, neutral, or bad ending. So using Amnesia, for example, yes, the Dark Descent where you date all the monsters. No, Amnesia Memories. Depending on which guy you get, you can either get a good ending, you can get a bad ending, whatever. I only date Kent because he has glasses, and that's all it takes for me. Um, so where was I? So these games utilize a lot of anime tropes, because as usual, anime is a mistake, and they do everything and ruin it. So this is especially used for love interests. So you have like Genki girls, which is supposed to be like the happy-go-lucky girls. Um, let's see, you have the glasses character, the best character, the princely characters, the tsunderes, all the anime tropes. That's pretty much synonymous with the tropes in dating sims. All right, so cool. Welcome to DTF HST 101. This is going to be a 12-week course on the history of dating sim genre of games. An entire 6 weeks will be dedicated to picking the best waifu, and you're wrong if it's not Shrek. So take out your syllabus. Okay, no, wait. That was syllabus. That's all it said. Cool. Okay, so since it's the first day, we're going to get started on the lesson then, so you hate me for the rest of my life. Um, yeah, so really quickly, did anyone have any questions on those terms? Did I forget any terms? I'm not super deep into the dating sim genre, but yeah. Yes, no, no, yes, 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 no. Okay, cool. I'm gonna continue.
what was the question? Sorry.
Oh, if anyone had any questions or terms that I forgot, because I'm
Nope.
not completely. No? Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So we're gonna start on Sega's blessing to this Earth. So although this game was pretty simple, uh, as you can see, it was pretty much just a bunch of flowers. This was called Girls Garden, released in 1984 by Sega. These developers were asked to create a game that was targeted at a young female audience to get money from the girl gamers, as they say. Um, Basically, what you would do is gather flowers to win love. Uh, and this was pretty simple, but was considered very revolutionary for gamifying the pursuit of love into fetch quests. Since that's all it really is. I only have my boyfriend now because I gave him a couple packs of Sour Patch Kids, and his affection level increased exponentially. Yes, you do grow girls in a garden. Sorry, I finally opened the chat on my phone, but I'm not looking at it really, except for that. So after that, you have the Weebs invaded, and they finally took over and released Tenshi Tachi no Go-Go in 1985. Except, unlike the first one, which was aimed at wholesome young girls, uh, this was aimed at the young adult male audience. Adult is capitalized for a reason. This used an anime art style for the art and narrative, so it kind of followed like the manga trends. You tried to date a girl in the tennis club by befriending her friends and grilling them for information on her. Um, this game was spicy. Uh, it influenced the modern dating sim structure. Um, Quick note: don't go look up the name of this game, like just in Google search. Yeah, the Google image search will give you some spicy images that definitely don't want younger siblings to see. Um, yeah, no, that's the takeaway. But this was the what was it, the precursor to the dating sim. So now we have the Dokusei series released in 1992 and onward. This one was not one interest. This was 14 possible love interests. Plus, the game introduced rivals for the protagonist to fight against. Oh my god, no! Don't Google the images. um, what was special about this game was you could make a harem. It was actually kind of encouraged by the game. It focused on timed events, so basically things would happen a certain time rather than focusing on dialogue choices. A lot of sequels were made due to the popularity of this series. And then in 1994, Konami was dying in its grave, in the dirt, and they reached one last hand and they're like, just make a dating sim. And they made Tokimeki Memorial, and by golly, the dating sim industry blew up. So 1994, they released Tokimeki Memorial, saves Konami from bankruptcy. Um, it's very popular, like incredibly popular. I'll talk about it at the end. So this game used a lot of stats and time management characteristics, but it also introduced a bomb feature, and that's if you ignored girls for a certain amount of time, they would start becoming upset with you and jealous, and you'd lose points with them. And that's not good because you want every girl to love you. Um, this was so popular that it spawned sequels, an anime, I think there's a mobile game. They're still making games. They're still making anime. They even released a title called Tokimeki Memorial Girls Side, which was aimed at girls instead of the male target of the original. That title also had sequels. I think I remember seeing the latest release for this series was in 2017. I'm not too sure if there was more after that, but yeah, it's popular. Thank this game because that's why we have a game where we can date birds. Um, yeah, does anyone have any questions about the first three games? No, four games. This is
There was a question earlier from Rose, but her mic's not working. Something about playing the Have you ever played the genre of dating sim created by Pact Thesis?
Um, I don't know the developer name too much. Is there like a certain game that you know from them? Because it sounds really familiar. Oh, yes. Actually, I know this one was. This actually, I think, came out of a genre of games that were all about being spicy. Um, and then applied those kind of dating sim things. Um, I'm not completely sure, to be honest, because I think those were didn't look too much into them.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, actually, if I do something on this again, I think I would like to explore that. Because I actually did not look into that, and that's interesting to think about. Um,
and I also have a question.
oh, I did not play those. I apologize, but I definitely know what you're talking about. Yes, what is the question?
Like, do you know like because I think Kirsten touched on like some of the dating sims nowadays you have to go looking for the 18 plus content, but then there sort of seems to be like a divergence between like dating games where the 18 plus content is optional and then like etchy games which are like they're adult 18 plus from the start and you know that they are. But
Yeah.
my question is that like I'm wondering because like there are harem animes nowadays
Mhm.
and like I'm wondering if like those were emerging around the same time as like these dating games started becoming a thing.
Huh. That is an interesting thing to look into. I'm not actually sure. I don't want to just guess on an answer because
Mm,
I will say I am an A plus BS artist, and I could give you an answer that sounded right, but I'm not going to do that to you.
fair
Um,
enough.
uh, but yeah, I can look into that later because I think that is a really interesting thing. I think that also goes back into the H game genre though, and they're like mainly aimed to be like hentai, spicy content. Um, yeah, that doesn't answer it, but I definitely do want to look into that. Is that it? Cool. Gonna go into Girls Are Gamers. So 1994, Tokimeki was released. This was also the year recognized as the birth of the Otome game. Angelique was released by an all-woman development team. In this game, your quest was to become queen to rule the cosmos. Um, Although it did include romance, romance was not actually the main goal. Instead, it kind of used more like social simulator stats. Oh, I haven't drunk water in like 18 years. Uh, Social sim stats. I'm not quite sure what that means. I honestly didn't look too much into this game because it's hard for a lot of these only because most of them were never given English releases. I'm not sure if this was. But yeah, this game borrowed a lot of shoujo manga tropes. Specifically like older shoujo manga since this is 1994. Um, and according to an article, this game set up the specifics and conventions of women's games, a focus on romance, easy controls, and utilizing other multimedia. Yeah, because easy controls, girls don't know how to game. That's why we have girl gamers who aren't real gamers. JK, JK. But yeah, so going on from there, we have the first. Let me get into. Okay, so 1995. True Love, some Japanese words, was developed by software house Parsley. Many of the regular dating sim characteristics were present, which wasn't too revolutionary. However, in January 1999, Just USA and Otaku Publishing for the EU, or was it, released a localization. So this was one of the first dating sims to receive an English release. So we can thank this game because it's why we can date birds in English, which I understand. If it were in Spanish or Arabic, I could play that too, but like English is also pretty good. A lot of the world speaks it. All right, so going on, we have after that and forward. So people continued to produce these. The genre just kept growing. Industry continued to expand. A lot of these other types of games were like, dang, that's a pretty cool game, and a lot of the weebs like it. We should put that in our game. So 1996, Harvest Moon was a farming simulator where you restore and maintain your grandfather's farm. However, it also included a mechanic where you could marry a villager in the town if you fulfilled certain requirements, like attending certain events or giving gifts. Sound familiar? I never played it because I had a deprived childhood. JK, I was just too busy crying over the PlayStation 1 101 Dalmatians game. The last one isn't a dating sim. I just wanted you all to know that 2015 Blood Blockade Battlefront came out. Please watch it. Cool, going on. Did I just include a... God. Yeah, so after that, let's see, we have some notable examples. Not all of these are notable per se, but they're just some examples. I like, oh my god, why do I keep this? I'm so sorry, I don't know how to use technology. Oh my god, now spoiling the whole thing. Okay, sorry. Okay, so we have the Arcana. I haven't played it. Just read fan fiction. It's pretty good. From
the Arcana can attest. I have played it. It is very good.
Okay. Actual attestment. It's
Yeah. Not that I endorse not supporting the creators, because you support the creators, but if you want to hack it, I know how. So just hit me up.
Oh, possibly. But that lady I found in this image is pretty eyes emoji. Something I did forget to mention. I think that's where that extra slide came from. Um, so when dating sims first started, they mainly focused on just dating people, and they're like the characters each had their own stories and things like that, but that wasn't the main focus. You actually had the start of a lot more complex storytelling with... I see little busters going on in the chat. I can't remember if that's by Key also, but in... I think it was Canon that started a lot more of the complex storytelling. And from what I do remember, Air was released after that. And that the main point of that dating sim was a dating sim that was sad. That was pretty much the point. And then after that, you get Clanad. I will never watch the anime. I will never play the game. Please don't tell me to. Please do not tell me to. Do not write it in all caps in the chat. I will not watch it. But yeah, that one was actually not technically a dating sim. It was a visual novel with dating sim elements. Just thought I should mention that it's a lot because of that company that dating sims became more story driven. So now we have Backstage Pass. I really like this game. Cute. You are a makeup artist, and that's it. You're going to college. Things are gonna turn out great. Your friend's a rock star, literally. Um, but God, what are these gifts you're putting in? Um, but following that, your father gets sick and is in the hospital, and you lose your whole scholarship for college or whatever. So not only do you have to find love because it's a dating sim, but you also have to get through college, get your scholarship back, and also do a whole bunch of other things. I put secret route here because I have played this game 7 times. One of the routes I did was just I dated no one and just became the smartest person at the college forever. I was smart. I did one route where I just pressed skip to every single day to find out what would happen. And all your friends leave you, you fail out of college, you don't have a job, your parents end up like being really disappointed in you. Your father's in the hospital, so that probably wasn't good for his health. Uh, yeah, and then one of the 7 times I played it, I found out that if you kept pushing that blonde guy in the picture, like whenever his events would show up, because I didn't like him too much. Yeah, I just don't. But every time he would show up, I would kind of be like, "Nah, I'm gonna talk to your sister instead." Um, and then his sister's plot line is one of the most like touching plot lines I've ever played, watched in anything. And you help her become really like confident in herself because she was always under her brother's shadow. It's good, and that's the only route you need to play. So just like find how to do the secret route. That's the only thing. So now we have. I know all of you were looking forward to it. Game. It's a good game. It has good girls. One of the main things about this game is that there's not many choices. Um, it is just mostly a lot of story. Uh, yeah. So, oh my god, freak is happening here? I'm just gonna skip to the next one. Keep talking about it. But yeah. So you basically just follow the story happens. Um, Stuff does happen. I have to put a trigger warning here. Uh, okay, so the next one, I started playing this a few days ago because I realized I bought it on a sale at one point. So this is just sitting in my game library. Uh, Very good. The guy on the picture is my boyfriend. Victor Frankenstein is in it, also my boyfriend. There's this other one. I'm just gonna build a harem, even if the game doesn't let me. But it's very cute so far. Um, they're nice, which is nice because all I want is people being nice to me because I don't have any self-esteem. So Amnesia Memories was actually like one of the first dating sims I played because it was one of the first I found that was available on Steam. Um, yeah, as you can see, very edgy, very a lot of belts. Yeah, fashion. You date one of them, you pick one of them. The whole draw of this game, as I said, is you go through a dark castle and there's like a lot of monsters there, and you oh sorry. Um, so you this like little fairy guy bumps into your head and almost takes it clean off. But instead, what the little fairy guy did was he took like all your memories, like he slapped you so hard, all your memories just flew out. So yes, this is Final Fantasy. Uh, so you don't remember anything. I've only played the Kent route because that's the only route that matters to me. Um, but from what I can tell, you're in a relationship with any of these guys, or you try to get a relationship, while also hiding the fact that you have amnesia. That's important because if any of them learned you have amnesia, she's worried you'd be in a hospital. Um, yeah, and then you wouldn't remember anything. But yeah, Kent route, the only important route. Um, yeah. Okay, so Hot Tofu Boyfriend, very good game. So you date birds. That's it. Nothing else happens at all. JK, the real plot of Hot Tofu Boyfriend, I don't think is actually the dating sim. The actual plot is pretty much, in my opinion, a meta narrative for telling stories. I don't know. I'm just trying to sound smart. Yeah, no, you have to play every single route, which long. Um, on my old computer, I was getting through it, and then it broke because my brother pulled out the entire charging port. Um, but yeah, so once you get to a certain point, apparently it'll say like fulfill the promise. Fulfill the promise. I read what happens. I'm not gonna tell you what happens, but um yeah, pretty good stuff. I don't know if you can date the cool biker bird, but I like her. Uh so this game I found hasn't been released in English, I don't think. Kimito, yeah, I think it means with me and her and so I don't remember. Good stuff. Uh, kind of like Hot Tofu Boyfriend, nothing happens. That's bad. Um, if you want to play this and find like an English thing for it, I would say it's kind of like Doki Doki. Um, but yeah. Oh, Wazami's only a friend route? Dang. I want to kiss sweet birds. All right, so now we have a very important one. And a lot of dating sim things have been used as parodies, just because it's kind of easy to parody, since you can kind of bring those tropes to the extreme. So here we have like John Cena's sexy high school adventure, in which all characters are John. Yes, this is real. Um, all characters are John Cena, every single one of them. There's like bully John Cena, there's like high school nerd John Cena, there's nice older classman senpai John Cena. It's supposed to be a joke. Certain ones like these are like Jurassic Heart, where you date a T Rex. She's beautiful. Um, yeah, you'll pretty much find like 87,000 parody games. Some of them are free, some of them aren't. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so now we go into some games that utilize dating sim things within their game. So, Personas of very exists as far as I know. There is no other Persona game. Um, and basically, this takes a lot of visual novel elements, RPG elements, whatever. If you haven't played Persona, just go play it. But yeah, you can't date Yusuke, which is why this game loses 50 points. Yusuke is the best boy. Alright, so then we have Fire Emblem, which is dating sims with tactics. You can get every single person in the game to confess to you, except not in Awakening, because we're not. Love is everywhere. In Awakening, you can have children, except Cynthia, because we don't need her, and Sumia's dumb. After this, there was the Fates, I think. You can also date people in that one. After that one, there was a dumb one where you can't date anyone, which was a remake, so that one's dumb. Don't play it. Not useful at all. After that, Three Houses came out. I've heard you can date people. I have it sitting on my shelf, gathering dust. However, I will not play it because I found out you cannot save everyone, and if I can't save everyone, then I'll just die. Um, I don't want to talk about these. You can look them up, but I won't tell you because I don't want to. I'm sorry. I really don't. What I will tell you is the one at the bottom, Katawa Shoujo, was made by a group at 4chan. I don't fight with people about this anymore because they all yell at me, and then I get upset because I'm like, I don't know. The draw is all the girls have disabilities. That's it. Okay, this is the real game right here. Namco High, the only game you ever need to play. You play as the prince from Katamari, and you can date the Galaga ship. Um, yeah, good stuff. Uh, yes. Um, this was also the creative mind behind Homestuck. Going on to the next one. So Gaku and Handsome, very good stuff. You play as a boy who's very timid and shy, and you find other boys, and then you date them, and that's it. That's the game. That's it. All right. Um, Going on from here, there's a couple of games that I didn't get to discuss. I really wanted to discuss Catherine. I don't know if you saw the drop in quality. Those were all the slides that got deleted while I was trying to fix stuff yesterday. Um, yeah, I was trying to find a new template for my presentation. Um, but yeah, I wanted to talk about Catherine. It's very big, I think, in the dating sim genre. Yes, Gaku and Handsome was a game. It was crowdfunded to be an anime. Please watch it. Absolute treasure. So some of the discourse I did want to like briefly talk about. Um, this slide got deleted too. I'm so sorry. One of the things that's interesting to look at when talking about dating sims is the gamification of intimacy, as a lot of people call it. And that's kind of like the whole. I was joking about it before, but like essentializing. That's not the word. Basically, putting love as like a series of like quotes that you have to specifically hit on and items that increase point things. I kind of think about this a lot because a lot of dating sims I stopped playing because at certain points you had to basically just tell the other characters what they wanted to hear rather than like being you as a person, which isn't really the game's fault because that's just like one of the drawbacks of coding and things like that for games. But it is interesting to think about that you essentially have to change your character to date certain people in a lot of these games. Um, Popularity outside of Japan, uh, that's important because that kind of exploded because Japan was a lot more open with exploring sexuality and things, heterosexuality, mind you, um, in things. So yeah, when that came to the West, they were like, "Oh my gosh," and all the like suburban moms were like, "Oh my god, there's porn in this game." Um, but yeah, so that was pretty big. One of the game I can't remember which game I talked about, but it had some spicy scenes in there. It wasn't that popular in Japan, but when it hit America, it blew up because mostly because of the sex, which was kind of unheard of in a lot of these things. Uh, and then, as you may have noticed, LGBT themes are kind of absent in a lot of these. Like one of the draws for the game. Uh, yes, we must protect sex from the children, and the other way around. But yeah, so LGBT themes are absent in a lot of them, which two LGBT creators, I was reading a lot of them actually find a lot more freedom in this sort of medium because they can pretty much like I can't I don't want to actually give you the wrong quotes or whatever, but I do briefly just want to mention Skyrim because Bethesda, with all their really good game making abilities, they make great games, absolutely no issues whatsoever. They are not lazy at all. With all that, the characters you create are pretty much allowed to date whomever they want regardless of gender, sex, whatnot. And I think it's interesting that they, in their inability to effectively make games, they actually made something transcendent in its message about love. And okay, I'm done being intelligent. Here we go. So, in conclusion, there's so many dating sims. You can play one, they're fun, and watch Kekai Sensen. Good. That's my son. I love Leo. Beautiful boy. Okay, that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Nope. Okay, cool.
I don't have any questions, but like I can talk about this subject like all day. So
Ah, cool. We have 5 minutes, so you can talk for 5 minutes.
I mean, the thing about like censoring the sex and especially the gay is like not just in dating games too. Like
Mhm.
notoriously, like Sailor Moon, when that
Yes.
came to the U.S., the two lesbian Sailor Scouts were now cousins because being a little like incesty was totally fine, but being
Yeah.
lesbians, not unacceptable. America's fucking weird.
This is also like I wonder if that was just that they were doing that shorthand really quick because like a lot of the times if you had like if you were very like open movies in the 90s, you would like refer to your partner as like your sibling. So like I
Oh,
wonder if that's where they took that logic from because it's like
oh, that is
be,
interesting.
no, because like it would make a lot of sense because there'd be like, oh yeah, like those like queer folks in like certain like because like I immediately think of like Rent, and I was just like, I wonder if that's what they thought. Like they're just like, yeah, we could just call them sisters or cousins or whatever because like they're just like, shh, yeah, we could just localizing was like we could probably just do that just to not like to avoid this being like censored or like worse, like just completely banned. I don't know because like
They they have they an entire season of the show was not localized in America because it features the Sailor Starlights who are boys, they're men, they're high school boys that transform into females when they're the Sailor Starlights.
oh yeah, that
America did not local like the entire season of censor the whole entire season.
that's like around like what 1980s 90s
It was
America, so
90s, yeah. It was 90s.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
Oh,
gender.
sorry.
That's
I was
been like
just looking at the comments and I saw Bethesda will create SAO, and you're correct. I'm sorry. Continue.
Wait, really?
um it was interesting you said that like a lot of them like you have to say exactly what you say
Mhm.
wants to hear. Because like that what was so good about the Arcana in particular because like you didn't there were only two you chose separately like you chose what character you were romancing at the start but and there are two endings depending on what choices you make. But in particular it was like the emphasis like for the good ending is usually the dialogue choices of like what they need to hear more so than what they want to hear. So the writing of that,
Oh,
like I thought I fucked up like an entire scene because I had chosen like these answers and like the character, and then I looked up a walkthrough and like no, I had gotten a bunch of points towards the good ending, even though the character was kind of pissed. So that's just like a point in the Arcana's favor if anyone.
that is very interesting. Yeah. I do have to play it. There's a lot of things on my list.
Also, Mystic Messenger is really good.
Oh, that was the other one I forgot to put. I accidentally deleted a slide at some point and I could not remember what I put there, and it was Mystic Messenger.
Yeah, that was Mystic Messenger. Like, was my first like actual dating game. So, but the writing is also really interesting.
Yeah. Uh, I don't have anything else to say. Just play dating.
Yeah, good job.
Me neither. Sorry.
Me neither. So it was interesting learning a lot about it.
It's an interesting genre. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys for making it fun. I'm gonna go get snacks.
It's a good time.
Water.
Good job.
Thank you. I'll see y'all later.
Kirsten, is this just like a hangout, like voice chat for the con, basically? Okay. I don't know. I've been very late. I've been very lazy today. Like I've been legit. I'm I'm okay.